So conventional wisdom in Hollywood, and I don't know how much convention and how much wisdom there is there, but says that a biopic is a dangerous target. Sports, my friend here says, is an anathema. And period pictures is a danger. So you do all three. Were you doing a death-defying act?
Yeah, we're in big trouble, actually. Well, you know, it's an interesting thing when you have a character as rich and wonderful as Bobby Jones. You know, you're willing to take on all three of those bears at the same time because he was a fascinating figure. And obviously a brilliant sportsman. I mean, he was one of the greatest golfers of all time. It was an amazing time that he lived in. You know, during the Depression is when he won the Grand Slam. And you know, it was obviously daunting in many ways, but I think ultimately it pays off really.
See, what's tough is that, I mean, biopics usually have a central character who has terrible demons. And Bobby seems like sort of a nice guy.
He was a nice man, but doesn't mean that he didn't have to overcome things that all of us have to overcome.
A temper. He had a bad temper.
And you know, there was a lot of you know, temptations in his life as well, as any athlete or celebrity has to deal with. He was a married man and a very good man. But what I was drawn to is the fact that he was a great role model, and he embraced the idea that he is a role model. And the idea now that you hear a lot of is I'm not your kid's role model. Yeah. I just didn't buy into that crap.
Yeah. So really, one of the monikers of this film, both in the marketing and the spiritual nature of it, was that it's a values-oriented film, that it espouses really positive values. Is that a challenge? Is that a challenge, or is that really a benefit?
I think it's a benefit. You know, clearly, Bobby Jones had his demons, and you know, I mean, the pressure of trying to win tournaments when, from the age of 14, he was picked as the favorite in just about any place he played, and he didn't break through until he was 21, and then from 21 to 28, he won everything. But there's a line in the movie that's taken from his book where he talked about feeling like he was in a cage of championship. And at first you're expected to get into it, and then you're expected just to stay there all the time. You know, once you become a champion, you can't let anything down. You have to win all the time. And I'm sure this is something, you know, with this year's Masters, Phil Mickelson, who had been picked for years and years and years as the best golfer never to win a major, to get that monkey off his back, I think is a great parallel to what Mr. Jones went through to finally break through and win.
But to return to Pete's question, you know, everything starts with money. I mean, it seems like a daunting task to raise the money for a period picture about golf. How did it come together? I know you're not the financiers, but where'd the money come from?
Well, I can speak to that on some level. Kim Dawson got the rights to do the Bobby Jones story about 13 years ago. And then he set about to try to find somebody that was going to put the money up for the project. And he came to the studios. He may have talked to you at one point, but...
Oh, I'm going to get blamed for this one, too.
And you turned him away.
Yeah, he probably turned it down. Probably rudely, too.
Right.
And anyway, just within the last year, Kim met a man named Rick Eldridge in North Carolina who put him in touch with a group of investors. And these are guys who were great fans of Bobby Jones. And one of the key investors, Tom Crow, founded Cobra Golf. And so these gentlemen were all fairly well off. They had a fund, is my understanding, that they had a fund that was for high-risk investment, and it didn't have to return their investment if it went to a great cause. So it was kind of like a charity fund in a sense.
Would you give me their name and address when you leave here?
No way. I've got it right here.
Okay.
No, they're wonderful people, and you know, much the way, you know, Jim said about, you know, how he felt about playing this character, they felt about making a picture about Bobby Jones, because they thought he was a positive role model, and they wanted to do a film that reflected that, you know, that genuine, you know, sportsmanship and honor that he had, and they thought it was a real positive thing to do.
You know, but when you look at the film, and the cost of the film is north of $18 million, and that's not a tiny film. That isn't, you know, a little small $5 or $6 million film. It has to have a lot of traction to get that, both to achieve that money and to get it back.
But still, you did an amazing job. I mean, with the period feel to the picture and the cars and everything, it really does feel like a much more expensive films. I
Yeah,
really
I'm very
congratulate
proud
you.
of that. And our costumer, I don't know how she did it, to be honest. The first day at St. Andrews, we had 350 extras, so we hit the ground running. And she dressed everybody. I think Jim had 85 changes in the picture. And it looks way north of 18 from my point of view.
You know, I'm curious, on sports films, when usually the lead has to either be the pitcher, professional baseball pitcher, or I remember when Warren Beatty was doing Heaven Can Wait and had to be a quarterback. It's always a challenge to take somebody who's not a professional and give them superstar status as an athlete. How did you, were you a golfer?
No, I wasn't. In fact, when I talked to the producer, one of the producers, John Shepard, and he asked me, "Do you play golf?" I said, "No." He says, "You want to play Bobby Jones?" And like originally, they came to me for Walter Hagen, and I liked it, but I didn't know who was playing Bobby Jones. And I loved the story that Rowdy was able to put together. It was a great script, and I just was drawn to doing good stories. So as an athlete, I grew up, you know, playing basketball and played in college. And what I was able to see in watching his swing was the transference of power. Jim Hardy, who I'm actually going to be with tomorrow down in Houston, who's my instructor, and Tom Ness, he asked me, he says, what do you see in the swing? And I say, I notice that when he's in his backswing, as the club is going over parallel, it's still going in this direction as hips going forward. And he says, that's the hardest thing to get people to understand. I said, well, I can see it, but I don't know if I can do it. And I was fortunate enough to get there, but there are certain physical things that he was able to do as far as flexibility that I couldn't get to. But I think we were able to hit about 95% of it. And I mean, let me tell you, many nights I always had that nervousness inside me, which was, am I going to be able to pull this off? I'd get up in the middle of the night and I'd watch it. I'd literally watch it, and then practice about 100 times, and I'd go back to sleep. But one thing that drove me nuts about a lot of basketball films that I've seen is that you see an athlete, see an actor, and you go, he doesn't play. It takes me right out of the movie.
That's what I thought. But at least no loincloth. You didn't have to hang from a cross. I mean, there were a lot of fringe benefits to this role.
Yeah, when they came to me about this, I thought, you know, after getting scourged a few times, I thought playing a little golf might be a nice change of pace.
You were cast in this role after you were finished with The Passion. Had you seen The Passion?
I had not.
I see.
No, but you know, I have great respect for Mel. I expected it to be a marvelous picture. As a matter of fact, there was when I spoke to the producers and some of the investors about Jim, and there was some concern about the fact that he wasn't a golfer. I added that, you know, he was in The Passion, and I thought that picture was going to make $400 million.
Yeah, but wait a minute. I understand that, but you know, no pun intended. You know, that's a different cross to bear. Being able to have a good swing and being able to do that of the movie, they're two different talents.
I had confidence. Jim and I had conversation about the swing, and I asked him how he felt, and he said, I will do Bobby Jones' swing. He said, I'm a marvelous mimic, and I will do it. And I took him at his word. And
you know, if he'd spoken a little in Aramaic, it would have given us all a continuum of character. We would have appreciated that.
But you know, he did a few Aramaic expressions at the end of each swing when he wasn't doing too well.
That's
you know,
right.
you
That's
saw
right.
the movie. But what's interesting to me also is that you really didn't focus on the actual golf itself. I mean, it was there, and you used it as punctuation for the story. In other words, you didn't say, I'm going to have this movie rely upon the actual recreation of golf all the way through it.
Peter, that's an excellent point. I didn't play golf, as you were saying earlier. I had no interest in golf. I'd rather watch it paint dry. Seriously, every time the Golf Channel was on or any golf things, I was quick to go watch a commercial because wasn't interested in golf. You know, and I wanted something fast-paced, and so what was great about this is the story that he wrote. It's a great story. It transcends the sport. Right. I remember Siskel and Ebert said this a long time ago when Hoosiers was on, and they said it would be a bloody shame that people wouldn't go see Hoosiers because they would say, you know, I'm not interested in basketball. That's not my thing. Clearly, it transcends the sport, and I see you have Seabiscuit up there as well. How many people are interested in horse racing? And I wasn't interested in making a fool of myself going out on the golf course, which I'm still not very good. I'm still working at it, but but it was a great story. And it was worth doing. It was worth the risk.
One of the challenges you look at, you think about films. I couldn't help but think when I watched the film, not only had we had a conversation with Mel, but we saw the movie, and it was an experience here, the movie The Passion. And when I watched Stroke of Genius, I still had that movie in my mind. Can you escape? You know, Charlton Heston, could he escape playing Moses in Ten Commandments? Can Superman, you know, can Christopher Reeve escape Superman? Was that part of a challenge? You didn't yet know how big a film it was while you were shooting it.
Right.
You know, the interesting thing, Peter, was when I told people that Jim was cast in this picture, everybody said, yeah, I know him. What was he in? And I said, well, The Thin Red Line, you know, with Sean Penn. Oh, yeah, that guy. You know,
That's what I
so
said about
he
him.
is such a chameleon.
About me.
Yeah.
Every role that he plays, he's different in. And if you take a look at a picture of him as Jesus and you look at a picture of him as Bobby Jones, they don't look like the same guy at all.
No. You're an actor. You're going to get the roles that come to you. You're going to bring your own moral position to them. But in some reality, you are going to always be, I come back to this, you're always going to have played that role. They're going to see that in that. I don't think that software ever comes out when you do a role and a picture as big as he's done. Whatever picture you've done in the near-term future, the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pictures, somehow that is going to be in the psyche of the audience. And you will see it. I believe you'll see it in reviews, and I think you'll see it in commentary. I don't think it's a bad thing, by the way. The question is, now would you play Superman too, given that? Because I know you were up for that role at one time.
I looked at it and went in, met with them, and again, it comes down to the story. What kind of story of Superman are you doing, or any comic book
I
characters?
don't think it's Superman so much. I think if he was playing a real bad guy, I mean, you know, JC plays a shit in the
serial
particular
killer.
movie. I could see that, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it would come back.
But I mean, I was in High Crimes, and
Right.
I didn't play such a good guy. I did a film with Ang Lee, Ride with the Devil. I didn't play a good guy.
Right.
And so
You're an actor.
yeah, I look for stuff that's very interesting. At the end of the day, when they came to me for Walter Hagen, it was a great role for 2 weeks. I was so tired I didn't want to do anything, but I kept coming back to who's playing Bobby Jones. And
Who played Walter Hagen? He was very good.
Jeremy Northam.
I thought
he was
really
too
good.
good. He was
too.
really
fantastic.
Jeremy needs one
Brilliant in that.
Yeah.
big picture, because he is just a phenomenal guy.
He really is.
His attitude, forget his aptitude, that whole attitude, the way he expressed it vis-a-vis yourself was a great contrast in the film.
Yeah, we really needed him, because as you pointed out earlier, Bobby Jones was a pretty, flat character in the sense of controversy. Not a lot of controversy about him. He was a really good guy. Did the right thing all the time.
You know,
So
I couldn't
we
get,
needed
talk
the
about not
devil.
being able to get somebody out of your mind. When I was looking at Malcolm McDowell playing this fatherly, good, wonderful guy, I couldn't help but think of Clockwork Orange.
I put him in a bowler hat, too.
Right, I know. It's like you looked at it and thought, my God, it's Clockwork Orange. So I think you do carry some of the history of your
Actors
films.
carry baggage.
They
There's
do.
no doubt about it.
They do.
Yeah, but despite all their efforts to overcome it. On the other hand, do you think when John Travolta was in Pulp Fiction, I mean, that didn't carry with him his most memorable role, but I don't think it colored his career.
No, but it was 18 years ago. Memorable role isn't the key part. I mean, that it was a big, successful film. It's the nature of the role. I mean, whether it's A Clockwork Orange or whether it's Passion or it's Superman, it's the nature of it. It isn't just the success of the picture. I think that's. I think Hannibal Lecter, Anthony Hopkins. Whenever you see him in a love story, you think, well, is he going to eat her? You know what I mean? Or is he going to kill her? Is he going to kiss her? What's he going to do with her?
I think someone like Tom Hanks in Forrest Gump, can break that any time. And but again, when you go into the story, you say, "Gee, this is a great story. It's phenomenal." And the last thing I'm thinking about is, am I going to be known for just this? But the fact is that at least you're known. At least they remember
Well,
you
that poor
by
kid
something.
you put in Midnight Express, I mean, you
He
killed
died.
him off like
He
2
died.
years later. Yeah, well, you
But
took
didn't
care.
die from the movie. But it was interesting. Many people have been hit by lightning in a golf course. I understood that you had a couple of excruciating experiences doing The Passion, one in which I think you were hit by lightning.
Yeah, that actually hurt a lot less than my shoulder and being ripped out. My shoulder, I separated my shoulder, And but yeah, I was hit
How
by
did that
lightning.
happen?
Was up on top of the hill, and there was there's like electrical field. You can feel it, and about 3 seconds before it hit, it just was so quiet. It was loud, and locked eyes with about 3 individuals. Their eyes were glossy, and my hair started going up. Boom. And
But your shoulder got dislocated on the cross.
it got dislocated while I was carrying it. Someone, it was wedged in here, and someone came over the top and just ripped it out. And it was, I don't know if you've ever experienced it, it's pretty excruciating. And
Wasn't it cold as hell?
and the hyperthermia. There were 30-knot winds coming up a 1,000-foot cliff, and every time that cross moved, it kept jarring my shoulder in and out. So, but to, talk about suffering for your art, I certainly did.
Well, now you're going to suffer in the future, because if you pick up golf, you're going to be facing some of a new cross to bear. That I think golf gets you in touch with a lot. I think that's the rhythm of the film too. It gets you in touch with a lot of yourself. It's both introspective, and external at the same time, which is.
It doesn't build character; it reveals it.
That's true.
So I got to ask a mean question. Mel Gibson will make more as the filmmaker from that picture than any filmmaker ever made from a movie in the history. Did some of the back end heading your way?
I got a little bit, and obviously when I went to do this, I was relatively didn't have the position. I basically didn't have the position as many other stars, but good. Not what other people would think, but I did. He's very generous.
It's funny. Sometimes the reward comes in a different form. It certainly is going to catapult his career and give him many more opportunities and exposure.
At the end of the day, though, I didn't do it for money, and I didn't get paid anything for it, really. I just took the SAG minimum, and I love the story, and I still, you want to be paid well in the future on. I'm looking at you saying this because they say, wait a minute, didn't you see on my show? You don't care?
Charity, and just like, these are the guys I love. Where have you been all my life?
When we first started this, people were saying this film won't do $5 million, it won't do this, and he put the full risk up. He went to many people who had an opportunity to have made an enormous amount of money on this, and all said no. Outside financiers right at the 12th hour just said no. So he took the full burden himself, and I think that he has been rewarded for it. At the end of the day, he's probably one of the most generous people I've ever met. So I think the film has done a lot of good for people, and I also feel that this Bobby Jones film, people come away and go, gee, it's maybe something they haven't seen in a long time as far as values go, but to me it's like an old-fashioned film.
Interesting you say that. The irony is that the financiers in this film had a lot of problems too. Last minute with people dropping out.
Yes, Warner Brothers with franchise and
dropped out of the financing, and other people that had promised commitments had dropped out. So you were always scurrying about. But
They dropped out of the Bobby Jones picture.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Filmmaking is always the art of daring do, of getting the financing together when you're not with a big studio.
Yeah.
Even today with a big studio, it's the same.
But only in movies do people say yes and then say no. I mean, why don't they just say yes?
You
and
think
stay
that's
yes?
only in movies?
Yeah. I mean,
How about, are you married ever?
You're the one who's been married for 50 years.
But the idea of money today in a film is part of the casting process.
No, but there was a day, you must admit, where a handshake deal did mean more than it does today.
That was when you started in the career, the D.W. Griffith period,
That's because you could never trust his handshake.
But,
Guys, it's great to talk with you, and I really appreciate you coming in. And really good luck with the picture. It's a terrific movie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers.